Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to go through some little pieces of news that have happened the last few days, and also to look forward to a bunch of stuff that's going on. The dev server has been updated again, so look forward to a bunch of dev server stuff once again. There is a ton of extras that have been added, and also a few clarifications from Gaijin themselves about what's going on, and that's pretty cool. It looks like also we have some pre-order packs which have been spotted, and some devblogs too. So it'll be nice to go over all of them. I'm going to put them all into this video so you can see it all. And as always, if you enjoy it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The first piece of news is from Esmin, and it is about the F-15E. As you may have seen, the Israeli F-15, the new one which is coming to the game, has different engines from the standard F-15E that's in the American tech tree. This caused a lot of confusion, and one of the things that was said on one of the dev streams was the reason why it didn't get the more powerful engines was because of balance, which seemed a little bit odd. I didn't realize they were going to do something like that. But what they've done is now, with the F-15E Strike Eagle in the American tech tree, it's going to get access to the PW229 engines. So this is kind of resolved. This is sorted, and now they'll have both the same engines. So basically, this F-15E and also the F-15 for Israel, the new one, both of these are just massive upgrades over the other F-15 that we already have in the game. They keep all of the air-to-air ordnance, they add a bunch of air-to-ground ordnance, and also they get more powerful engines and pretty much more powerful everything else. So that's pretty cool. Some of the other parts as well is there are some ongoing discussions about, of course, turret clipping and gun clipping since the Leopards got nerfed with their gun depression, so a lot of people are pointing out other areas of vehicles which also clip their barrels into parts of the good old hull, so hopefully they can fix those too and keep everything at the same level. And there's a ton of ordnance discussions going on as well about what vehicles should get what and what is available for other ones. One of them, the key ones, is for the German Tornado Ass TA, which obviously has access to some pretty cool ordnance, but there's also a bunch of different variants of the Asta which have access to different sets. People are wondering, should the one that we have in the game get some new stuff? And we'll see as it goes forward. There's also a bunch of pre-orders that are on the horizon, and these will probably come in today. All three of the premiums that were added to the dev server, which weren't G vehicles, because one of them was added today, which was a G vehicle. So the AV8S, the JA37DI, and also the SU22M4 WTD61. So the Japanese tech tree AV8S, the Taiwan, the J37DI, which I believe now there is a standard tech tree one which is there, and also the SU22 for Germany. All three of these get their own title. So for the Matador, you get the Matador title and also the Naga decal, which looks really nice. For the J37DI, you get the Thunderer title, which I believe is already in the game, and then also the Mjolnir decal, which is always lovely to see. And then the SU22M4, you get the Fitter title and also the Ingolstadt coat of arms. So overall, quite nice to see those different things. There's also some new flags which have been added to the files, the Iraq flags, basically from 1963 to 1991. Now, these were added, but they don't seem to be attached to any of the vehicles that are around, and it seems like this correlates to the good old World War mode idea. Remember, a little bit ago, there was a leak about an Iran-Iraq War World War mode. Well, it seems like they have started adding the building blocks to that to the files. So a lot of stuff going on with that, and a lot of other stuff moving around too. It's one of those days where there's just a ton of things happening, so don't worry, we'll cover them all, but goddamn, it's everywhere right now. There was also a devblog for the ICVP. This is, of course, the Japanese vehicle that is coming in. If you didn't grind out the squadron vehicle, which I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't, because literally I don't think you could get access to it yet. It was only added like a month ago. For me, I think I'm about halfway through the grind, and I've been getting like 20k every 3 days, so I don't even get how people get access to these. But basically, the ICVP is the Infantry Combat Vehicle. It's a light tank coming in for good old rank 7 of Japan, and it's very similar to a lot of the other wheeled vehicles that we've seen around the place. It's incredibly modern. In 2018, the Japanese Ministry of Defense initiated a program for the development of a common family of light vehicles, which would replace some of the older vehicles in service since the late 1980s. 6 vehicle variants were planned in total, one of which would be the infantry fighting vehicle variant. Mitsubishi, tasked with developing the vehicle, chose the chassis of the Type 16 MCV as a basis on which the next vehicle family would be developed. In 2020, the first prototype of the ICV was constructed, and by this time, however, the Patria AMV had won the tender for a promising new wheeled APC for the JSDF. As a result, the number of vehicles from the family, which will later on be launched into production, is expected to be reduced to just a few variants, including the ICV. In late September 2022, the ICVP was still undergoing testing. So basically, it's still getting tested and going to be out pretty soon. The vehicle itself has access to a 30mm Bushmaster Mark 44. It's going to be very mobile since it's based on the Type 16. It's got a 570 horsepower engine, so mobility will be nice. And yeah, the basic thing is the APF SDS on the 30mm and the mobility. It'll also have really good optics, so you'll be able to see people from absolutely miles away. If you haven't played the light tanks for Japan, usually they're quite high BR for the actual kind of ordnance, or I should say kind of gun that they have, but generally they feel really nice. And this one will be no different. It will work extremely well, and if you enjoy the other ones, you'll enjoy this too. It's also nice to get a standard tech tree version of a squadron vehicle. It's really weird, the last few kind of updates. I think we've got 6 squadron vehicles overall, which is a very high amount, if we're honest. And I feel like what's going to happen is they're going to add in some kind of other way of being able to research the squadron stuff. Or maybe they're going to add in from the roadmap that way of joining squadrons easier, because at the moment it is pretty nuts that, you know, you have all of these vehicles and it's going to take somebody at least a year to be able to get access to them all. So maybe it's because we had such a long period without any squadron vehicles, but it is a bit odd. This one is just in the standard tech tree, so you can just grind it straight away, but it makes me think about the other area and what's going on with it. A lot of people have also been asking me about the changes to RWRs when it comes to a lot of Western vehicles and also, well, to be honest, Eastern vehicles. And all I can really say on it is I'm just going to sit here, wait for them to come to the game, and then address what is going around. I had a look at the good old changelog for Firebirds and all of the general stuff that was going through there. You know, the good old server changelog, which kind of puts out all of the changes but doesn't really give any sources on why they're doing it. They just seem to be doing it. And then also the data mine changes. But the main thing is a lot of these things are changing constantly. We're on the 7th dev server, I think, and a lot of this stuff has been moving around since then. So it's one of those that I don't want to talk about right now, because I don't want to give people the wrong idea of what is happening. But let's just say they are doing a ton of RWR changes, and hopefully they do like a Devblog on it, or hopefully they do like a clarification on it, because a lot of it is many systems losing the ability to identify what is actually locking onto them. At the same time, though, a lot of the changes that are happening are very basic changes and shouldn't really affect gameplay too much. Some people have talked about the fact that you won't be able to tell that a Panzer has fired a missile at you. And at the end of the day, if you're playing high tier and you're playing against Russia, you have to already believe that there is going to be a good old missile coming at you from a Panzer. That's just one of those things that sets up. One of the ways that this does negatively affect a lot of people is the fact that you won't know exactly what's locking onto you. You'll only be able to tell what the radar is instead of what the vehicle is. And this is obviously quite negative, but it's also something that every other nation already has too. So it's one of those kind of factors which makes everything kind of the same. But at the same time, I would like to see some historical sources on this from Gaijin's end, why they're doing these changes, because there are a lot of changes where they add in the report on why, you know, they're fixing it or why they're going through it. But for all of these changes, there are no reports, there are no historical documentation, there's nothing. And there's so many of them at the high echelons right now, it feels like they should do some kind of setup for it in that way. But at the moment, we don't see it, so hopefully that happens. Anyway, that is all of the news for today, at least right now. They're probably going to start doing a bunch of articles on the pre-order stuff, and I'm sure this video will come out and the pre-order stuff will have already launched, because that's just my luck this last week or so. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.